Hey, welcome along to Navigating the Shift. Annabelle and Sarah here with loads and loads of things to talk about. Do you want to get started, Sarah?
Okay, our crazy president is at a press conference and he's doing this thing. I mean, he's really playing up the creepy Joe thing, which is like, I'm the one who wrote the bill.
Don't in any way dismiss what Senator Murphy says about the environment. Don't dismiss it at all. Just remind him, I wrote the bill on the environment. Why would I not be for it?
Like 3 different times he leaned into the microphone like he was telling a secret, and power whispered, yeah.
He needs a Vincent Price laughed after it, doesn't he, really?
It does. Oh my God. And it's not because, everybody's sitting there. I would love to have seen the press's face, although I'm absolutely positive they're absolutely trained to not react at this point,
But you look at his face, that is just not the same guy. That is not the guy. Can you not see the eyes are different? Everything is different about that face. If it's not just a mask or something going on there. It's not the guy. Are they going to make him look more and more and more crazy and silly?
I think so. The other person who is not the same guy is Dr. F, Woo, you've seen the 2 shots of him and he's like, well, that's not him. The new guy has a nose that's about a ½ inch longer and really deep set eyes. A while ago, I was just looked at it intuitively and I was like, now he's either put up his double and gotten the heck on out of Dodge, hiding because he knows he's in trouble, or he's been processed and he's been picked up. One or the other. I wasn't quite sure, but I'm like, that's not him. And when I look at the pictures, I'm like, bingo. Yeah.
The premier from Victoria in Australia apparently put out a tweet saying that he was ready to come back to work, but nobody's seen him. Not since March.
No, he went out from a back injury?
Yeah. Supposedly fell down some stairs, and then a story came out about him hitting on Price Waterhouse executive's daughter, or the friend of the daughter at a party, and intuitively that didn't feel right either. I just feel like he's off the planet now. He's gone.
It's going on for a while. I had some deep meditation recently, and I just got, once again, it's like, okay, it's over. It really, on a spiritual level, it's over. We've won. And I ended up just crying relief. This really has been a long war, people. So be really gentle on yourselves. If you can't get a whole lot achieved in one day, realize that you're doing so much spiritual work. Anybody who's watching this is a spiritual warrior. And just let yourself have your hobbies, your creativity. Is it your garden, or is it cooking or painting or flower arranging, whatever it is? You've got to put your own oxygen mask on first in a plane.
The plane is not going to crash. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had to remind myself of that a couple of times this week as well, because it felt like some of the news was getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and people who I used to swap a lot of information with are like, nah, I just think this whole thing is really leading to poop. And I'm like, no, it can't be. And then you get things that
you said poop.
Sarah,
I'm sorry. It just was funny. I'm sorry. It happened. Okay,
should I wait? Should I just wait?
Just move on.
Okay, all right, moving on. All right, so some of the deep and dark things. This is interesting about the spike protein thing. So there's been a guy who apparently is the inventor of the mRNA vaccine, Robert Malone, having a decent conversation with 2 other people about the dangerous spike protein that's in it and what it does to your cells and blah, blah, blah. I did put on a few episodes back about this Magneto idea that came out. The article came out in 2016. I was so excited because you can remote control the brain and behavior. Isn't that so exciting? I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Is that what's in a spike protein? And then there was a Russian hacker video, which I'll show you here. I've videoed it. The sound is not much help because he's speaking Russian, but there is subtitles. You can see what he's saying. Where he went onto the dark net. If you don't know what that is, this is like a whole web of stuff that is totally private and therefore supposedly untraceable. Of course, that's not the case at all. Somebody is bound to be able to trace it. And they've managed to pick up a lot of child traffickers and all sorts of people off the dark net, which has been helpful. In fact, the very first photograph that we ever saw of people in cages, they look like young teenage girls with no tops on their hands and knees looking out of little low cages. That was the first time I saw that. And it was my kids showed that to me when they were in high school. So this was a few years back, saying there's this thing called the dark web. And that's where that photo came from. So kind of interesting. But coming back to the Russian hacker, he thought that he would go and look for the database. How does he find these things? I don't know. For the Sputnik prick, which is from Russia. And he said he knew all his friends that had it, and he found all of them on the database, and it completely tracks everything. They're all their coordinates of where they go every minute of the day, when they're asleep, when they're having sex, all their vital statistics. Everything is on this database. So when Mr. Gates was talking about tracking everybody, I think that's possibly what this is about, or possibly this idea of remote control brains, when then you'll have a zombie apocalypse. So this all sounds very scary. However, this feeling that we have that the light is one, absolutely, we're on the right track. My guess is around this idea is that they're allowing the technology to go out, which is still at expense of lives, we think. As it's reported, I don't know anybody who's died, but we're seeing supposedly thousands of lives going because of this. But if that's not the case, that's another possibility. I don't know. But if that technology is released into millions of people all around the world, and then that technology is put into the hands of good people, then you can use that to clean up the body of all the issues, health issues that have gone wrong. They won't need to track them, but they'll be able to, if you've got nanotechnology in your body, it could be used for good. It could be used to go around and clean up cancer or clean up infections or whatever.
That makes sense. I mean, bottom line is our whole solar system, our galaxy maybe, but definitely this planet is going through a major shift. And it's going to be a different world without all this negative stuff in it. So regardless of what happens now, we are promised that. So taking in mind that there's still shenanigans going on, mostly the good guys are winning, right? Ultimately, we have won at the spiritual level. So it's going to be okay. But I see your point. That's the big question. Like, why did Trump push these things?
So that's an interesting little thing to throw in there. Okay, so Iraq. This is interesting too. Now, their money system has gone to poop, and I'm going to say that again, and you just hold your tongue. And so they have, they're doing, I have to get into a bit more detail about how they're managing their whole economic crisis, but they're cancelling all the loans, the old and current loans, home loans.
Wow.
And the Iraq cabinet has also just approved the building of a new city around the Baghdad International Airport called Rafael. How beautiful.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. So we're not sure. That there's a bit of a talk amongst the truth community as to whether Iraq is going to be the guinea pig for setting up the new financial system, or if they're just trying to save their ass. I don't know.
Interesting. Who would have thunk, as my dad would say, coming from Iraq,
I know. Yeah.
Everything's upside
down.
Been
clashes. Exactly. British Airways, they said that 4 young pilots all happened to die at the same time, about within 2 weeks of them all getting the prick. And so now they're grounding a lot of their pilots, and they're not allowed to ride because apparently they got their blood clots while they were up in the air.
Yes.
So that's a bit curious. And there was some news on NBC News as well as 9 News Australia about various airlines cutting prices because there's a pilot shortage. Ooh.
Well, not a pussycat shortage.
No, I have plenty of my cat. The US military posted on, was it Twitter, 3 videos of booms. I'll just put the video up. Everyone can have a look at it. There is a channel on BitChute called Exposing Corruption who did a video on it. And one of them is enormous. It's like the test of an explosive. They put it out in the middle of the water with some poor little boat. in the middle of the water, and they film it to see how big the explosion is. But why put that out? Why 3 of them, and why so big? It's curious as to what's going on there. We're not quite sure what that's about. The same channel had information, which I'll put a link to again, about Edward Snowden, and how it turns out that even though he was a whistleblower, he was actually like a double agent, it seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the same episode includes stuff about John McAfee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is another, so this is a big one this week. John McAfee is the guy who invented the antivirus software. So, there was Norton antivirus, first of all, and then there was McAfee antivirus soon afterwards. And they were the 2 big leaders in antivirus software all around the world. But John McAfee, he's a good dude, and he's a rough looking guy. He looks like a bikie, but he was very determined to clean up corruption and things. So as they installed his software all over the place, he got to have a look at what everybody was up to, and a lot of corruption files, terabytes of files on corruption from officials and all sorts of things. And I'm not sure of the full detail, whether he separated from his business or whatever, but he suddenly started getting a bit of a profile over the last few years. And it was strange, because he would put out little videos and he'd have a really rough, cold-hearted attitude, and other times he'd have a hilarious sense of humor, and you just didn't quite know where he sat. And I think that was the idea, to confuse everybody, like, whose side is this guy on? Is he a deep, dark person, with a one eye and a triangle, or is he a person that's on the right side? We just don't know. These videos were very confusing. And then he put out things like, if ever I die or disappear, I have a kill switch, and I'm going to release 3 terabytes of this corruption information to the press. Now, I don't know if sending it to the press is a good idea, considering they're not very good at reporting things, but I'm sure the right people would get hold of it if he was going to do that. And sure enough, 24th of June, John McAfee, well, just before that, was arrested in Spain, and he was going to be extradited to America. He's found dead in his cell, found dead in the prison cell. And my thoughts immediately, or feelings, were they've extracted him from the public narrative so that he can do what he needs to do. I don't feel like he's dead at all. So there's an excuse as to why he's been removed from the picture, because now they're going to say, oh, all the information. Now, he did put out a tweet that's so ridiculously like child's play. By the way, my 3 terabytes of information are being stored in my address close to this place, which just happens to be within the neighborhood of the Florida building that fell down this week. The day after he was told that the press said that he was dead, found dead in his cell. The building fell down. Did you looked at that video as well?
You can see the little explosions before it starts to fall.
Do you wonder if it's just electrical, like the lights short circuiting and things like that, or do you think it was?
I watched it slowly and very carefully over and over, and I was like, "Now, when does the building start to go, and when do these sparks happen?" Now, there's like the first one went, and then the second one. Now, it could have been tweaked, and that could have been that, but I didn't see the building move when I started seeing the little boofs come out. It is, of course, right by the salty sea and the salt air. If there's any tiny little crack in concrete, can go in and corrode the rebar, the metal that supports the building. And there have been other instances of catastrophic failure like this of concrete buildings. Really? But it is a little, yeah, not a whole lot. But yeah, if they're by salty air, especially, that's sort of a real big problem. If you think about it, water can get into huge granite boulders and slowly over time crack them and break them off. So it's a powerful force if water gets through even tiny little cracks. There's a tiny little thing, but it is very questionable that this happened right at that time.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of when I saw that video is that the colors are so flat, it almost looks like a kiddie's animation. There's no detail in it at all. So I don't know the area. I mean, there was plenty of pictures afterwards of, collapsed stuff. also my thoughts or feelings when I was watching it was that there was nobody in it. Nobody.
That's exactly what I got too. The building next door evidently had people in it, and they were trapped because exploding stuff comes out and blocks the stairways, and the elevators aren't working, and they're thinking, is this going to go next? Is this going to go next? So it must have been a traumatic experience for these people.
Well, you can't tell them, if the whole block got cleared of people, then there'd be plenty of people to tell about that, right?
The building was scheduled to be demolished in a week or two or something. So that's really questionable because,
That's
they've
why all the
already got this stuff in there.
They were ready to go.
I did see a video of John talking about that he has several doubles, and that recently one of them completely disappeared for a while, for weeks or something, and then showed up again injured with no memory of what had happened to him. I'm like, it could be an actor, it can be a double, but it was just kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, it was just announced that Ghislaine Maxwell had been trying to make sure that the depositions could not go public, and she was denied her bid for that. So we're going to get to see this information. And of course, I'll try to stop something else. But I think at this point, they're doing the stopping to try to get attention on it because she's made her deal and probably is not anywhere near that courtroom, right? No, it's a virtual thing. So she's not there, whatever her deal was, and she's okay with it to finish. So it's just a controlled timing on that, I think.
Yeah. I can't even tell whether she's still here or not, but that last face with the little bruise on the cheek was definitely not her.
I think we should be expecting more of these type of events. The not true flag events, as they say. Michael Flynn, General Flynn, recently spoke on the Steele Report, I think is a TV show. And I'll just read you what he wrote. There's going to be something that is going to happen, and I'm afraid that what it's going to do is going to further divide the country. It's not going to be as dramatic as something you're talking about with 9/11. And nonsense of the UFOs and the apocalypse crap is such garbage. People need to face reality. We need to face reality. They are going to continue to go after Donald Trump. They're going to continue to go after Donald Trump. And I'm glad to see the president finally getting out, doing his rallies, going to be in Sarasota. At any rate, the bottom line
is that we can expect more stuff.
Expect stuff, and keep your headset in, okay. Is this the bad guy stuff? Is this the good guy stuff? And realizing bottom line, Flynn was talking about in relationship to the in Arizona, because that's closing up now. And I think in 2 weeks from now, they'll have a report out, or they're almost finished. And then Senate gets a report right away. And then they release date. I don't know the situation there, but that's like within the next 2 or 3 weeks. We should be, keeping our eye out and remember, okay, people are involved. It's not just drama on these things, or at least people can be involved and hurt and killed, but not to let it drag you into the drama.
Yes, that's right. I mean, there was a bridge that collapsed in Washington, D.C. as well. So they'll be trying to do all sorts of things to draw your attention away from what was going on in Arizona. Another thing that was interesting, Trump had a rally, was it yesterday, I think, from what's that, your 26th of June? Ohio, yeah. And right at the beginning, he was blatantly obvious, this is the first rally for the 2022 election. I'm like, oh, well, that's subtle, isn't it? So that was a suggestion that once the information comes out from the reassessment of November 3rd, that it'll prove one state after the other, one county after the other, that the whole thing is such a mess, they're going to have to start again. And they might have to do it for next year. And yet all the other people that came back on the stage after that were saying, yay, 2024, yay. I'm like, well, that's not what he said. So let's just see.
Yeah, well, of course, he could be backing people we're running for Senate and stuff like that. But, there was a bunch of other things that he said. A fellow who goes by Anchor Reese on Twitter, I'll link below, did watch the whole rally and picked up on a few little things that I'll read to you. And then if you want to read the rest, you can click on the link below. So in Washington, I was there 17 times in my life, and all of a sudden I'm president of the United States. He did that snake poem again, which he talks about you invite the snake in and you're surprised the snake bites you, that kind of thing. So there was a guy in Congress mentioned, that was one of the other speakers, I think, how Trump will get elected for a third time. So if you're interested, go to the link.
Right, but they're positive hints. They look like they're heading in the right direction, don't they?
Absolutely. And I think when I checked on it recently that Trump did this thing because it was his job to save the country and the world, and he didn't enjoy it. He's not the leader, right? He got brought in to be the person who could, with the big enough ego to withstand all the attacks and enough money to protect his family and to be protected. And he doesn't want to be the leader of the world. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to have his life back and enjoy his life. So he may not come back as president. They may bring somebody else in. And because he's been so vilified to so many people, it may not be possible to have him as the persona in front anymore because it's too hard for people to switch from all their hate, right?
Yeah.
So whatever it is, whoever's coming in is going to be a good guy. We can relax on that.
Yeah, definitely. Meanwhile, in Australia, there's been a few videos that have come out really seriously questioning the whole prick rollout, and how item, which was originally brought to the press by Australian scientists, has been absolutely brilliant in helping, being very beneficial to those who have caught the illness or used as a prophylactic as well. And apparently India has a lot of things that their press is not promoting either, and the positive benefits of this particular drug. There's this lady here who is a senator. Her name is Jackie Lambie, and she used to be a solo mum on benefit, like social welfare. She was on the bones of a bum, and she's somehow ended up being voted for through her neighborhood, who are very passionate about making sure that things work out. And she's been attacked and people treat her badly because she's got a broad accent and all this sort of thing, but she's one tough nut. And there's this video that's come up of her interviewing a guy from, I think it's called TPG, the government department that collects like VAERS, like you've got the adverse effects and deaths and things that are being reported as links to the prick, not necessarily all of them, but the ones that are being reported. And currently in Australia, there are the list is 11,000 people with adverse effects, and we haven't had the prick for very long. The press are talking about 2 deaths. I've heard another suggestion that if you actually go through the weekly reports and add them up, there's 272 deaths. That's kind of different from 2 deaths. Though I haven't gone through and added them up myself yet to see if that is correct. But obviously 11,000 people with adverse effects. Somebody should be doing something about this. And yet every media outlet and the politicians are still raving on about, go on, hurry up, get it done. And Jackie Lambie is getting fierce about this because this committee member, he looked like a naughty child being in the headmaster's office, the principal's office. And she was like, I have to tell the truth to my constituents, my community. You got to do something about this. And she was getting quite fierce. So I'll see if I can find the link to that one. It might have been a Facebook video, which is not helpful because if you don't have a Facebook account, you can't see it. But if I can find it elsewhere, then I'll put a link in for that. And the only other thing I've got here is the enormous protests in London that are going on. Most people are not wearing masks. The police are standing back. They've got great music going on. It's like a carnival. They're having a great time. They're showing that it's okay to get out and about. And considering they got the virus a little bit before the rest of us, they should be worse affected. They're actually showing everybody that it's fine. Everything's fine. Get back to work. Get out on the street.
Have fun. Just recently they lifted the mask mandate across where I live in California, and a lot of people still wearing masks. But to go into the big grocery store and everybody who doesn't have masks is all just
smiley. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Yeah, it's really nice. It's been a long, hard haul.
It has. It has. Did you have some info about Mike Lindell as well?
Oh, he's putting out more videos and speaking about how he has absolute proof. Somebody live while the election was going on was capturing data. So it's not a forensic, it's live data. And they call them packets. And they looked at 20 of thousands or millions of packets. And just in those 20, they found so many votes flipped that it would have changed the.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's coming out with it in August. They're doing a cyber conference where all of this is going to come out and all the experts are going to be there. So, yay! Sounds
Wow. Good. Yeah.
Go buy a My Pillow, guys.
He
We need to support this guy.
Absolutely. He was at the Ohio rally as well and got a special clap. He's such a character. Really strong character. Yeah, yeah. Loud, doesn't shut up. Oh. Get him on video and you just you just have to sit there and go and have a cup of tea for an hour. But he's so passionate about making sure that this gets sorted out. And so
right.
Wow, what a guy.
And he said if it had been the other way, I'd have been just as passionate about it because we need to have secure elections. And anybody who's telling you that checking our election system for problems, and he listed all the Democrat senators who in 2018 talked about how we have to take care of this. We have horrible stuff going on with cyber defense on our elections, and it's going to be really bad. And now they're all going, no, it's perfectly, it's safe and tech. It's all been right. This is so silly.
Yeah.
But desperate attempt.
Yeah, we did find though that on some of those sites, I don't know if it was Dominion, I think it was one of the other ones, because there were at least 3 different software systems that were being questioned. Now, I remember one of them on their website. God, I won't be able to remember it now. On their website, they boasted having customers all over the world, including Australia and New Zealand. So I'm sitting here going, okay, this could affect all of us, because if they say, okay, Dominion is definitely corrupt or easy, open, and vulnerable, then the next one might be, and the next one might be, and that might put every election in the world in the same basket. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly. Think Venezuela, folks. Started back there.
Mm-hmm. So much. So I think that's probably enough for this video.
Good Lord.
Man, we jam it in, don't we? We're not going to sit here and talk for 3 hours about how fabulous we are. We want to get all the information out. And then if you want to talk to us about any of this, just feel free to put a comment below.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
See you next time.